right, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it might be that you are watching this, art students. So we are going to be doing more linear perspective. A lot of you guys did a really good job with the boxes last week. So we're going to be continuing that same technique, but we're going to be a little bit more tricky with it. Instead of just doing the boxes for the linear perspective, we're actually going to do our names in block letters. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is set up our paper. You are going to put your horizon line. Again, that is where the sky meets the ground or the ocean. Some of you did not get that right on Google Forms, but most of you did. We're going to put that towards the top of the page. So you're going to put a straight line across. Then you are going to put the vanishing point somewhere close to the middle of that part of the paper. Okay, so I'm going to make my horizon line a little bit darker so you can see. But we are setting up our papers so that we can do 1 point perspective letters. I was actually really impressed. So I've taught linear perspective. You guys know I've taught middle school and high school and elementary school before, and I've taught this technique to all grade levels that I've taught, upper elementary and high school. And out of all those grades, I'd actually say that you guys have done a really, really good job with the linear perspective. So good job. Right now, though, I want to show you how to combine doing the 1 point perspective with block letters. So most of you remember this from some point at the start of the year. I taught you already how to do block or bubble letters. The first thing we're going to do is create kind of we're going to map out where our letters are going to be on our paper. So don't draw the block letters yet. You are going to use just plain block handwriting to write your name. All right, so I'm going to write my last name here. You're going to remember to leave space between each of your letters because you want to make sure if you make a mistake, you have room to change it. Okay, you want to make sure there's enough room in between letters, and you want to make sure there's enough room at the beginning and end of your paper. All right, so you can see my name right there. I'm keeping it simple. I'm not making it super fancy. I do want to make sure that my letters are as neat as possible. That's going to help me make the block letters from here. So those of you that remember me teaching you this before, I call these our skeleton letters. So basically you're making the bones of the letters. In a minute, we're going to add the block letter part, and that is going to be kind of the muscle on top of the bones. All right, so you're using each of these letters as a guide to help map out how you want your block letters to look. So I'm going to just trace very neatly around all of my letters here. So I have my B. I'm going to make those little spots inside. So if you have a letter, again, like an O or an A or something that has a middle section, you just draw that same shape on the inside. I'm trying to leave a little bit of space in between here. This will get a little tricky when we line everything up with the vanishing point. But for now, I just want to show you guys how to do the block letters. You're leaving space in between your letters, a little space so we can draw some of the angles that we need to draw. All right, so I'm almost done with my block letters. It's going to take you a little bit longer to do yours. I know a lot of you guys are perfectionists. This might be your first time doing this, so that's fine. Don't worry about it. You're just trying to get the depth in there with the perspective. So if your letters look a little funky, it's okay. All right, so I'm going to trace around my last letter. Okay, nice and neat. If you need to use a straight edge like a ruler, maybe you're not so great at drawing straight lines, that's fine. You can use your straight edge like the ruler or the edge of a notebook to make your straight lines. But once I have my letters written out and I like the way they look, I'm going to go back and I'm going to erase that skeleton letter that I had done to map it out in the first place. So I'm going to erase that. All right. I'm going to try to keep my workspace neat, get rid of all my little eraser shavings. If you have a pen, if you do not have pencil, you're not going to be able to erase out your skeleton letters. That's okay. Just try not to draw them super dark. You can actually draw pretty lightly with a pen if you barely touch it down to the paper. Just give yourself a little bit of a guide. All right, so I have my letters done. I have the skeleton letter part erased. Everything's kind of as neat as I need it to be. All right, so here's where we are going to get tricky. You have to figure out how to connect the corners of these letters to your vanishing point. You will notice that my name has some rounded letters. That is okay. So I'm going to start by making little dots along the farthest out section that I can see of my letters. Okay, so I'm going to make corner, 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 corner. This is about as far as my line would reach for my vanishing point. I'm going to make a dot on the corner. I'm going to go over what I mean by that, like on the R and on the B in a second, because this will get a little tricky. And I don't expect this to be perfect. As long as I see most of your lines connecting to the vanishing point, that's okay. That's what I'm looking for. If it doesn't look exactly perfect, don't stress. This is your first time doing this, so I'm not expecting anything to be perfect. It's just a learning experience. So don't stress too hard if you are not liking the way your letters look. It's fine. Okay, you can do a little bit of the dot inside too. All right, so I'm going to start with the easy ones. So I'm going to go all the way out. I've made my dots. I'm connecting my dot from my letter to my vanishing point. Please don't just connect it to the horizon line. I saw some of you guys make that mistake. The important part is that everything meets on that one point. For the vanishing point, that is going to show depth. Okay, so it's important that they all meet. So I'm going to line up my corner, line it up to my vanishing point, draw a straight line. Okay, now this is where it gets a little tricky. All right, so if you have a letter that is a little curved, like the B right here, I'm going to start by lining up my ruler. Hopefully you can see this okay, with my vanishing point, and then I'm going to slide my ruler over to the part of the curve. I'm lining it up with the curve. I'm going to line it up with the part of the curve that it touches first. Okay, so I'm going to see right there, I guessed it pretty well. That's where my dot lines up, so I'm going to connect that dot to the vanishing point. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to take my ruler, hold it steady on the vanishing point. I'm going to slide it over. The first part I see it connecting to on the O is about right here. Remember, if you run into another shape, you just stop when you hit that shape. You can draw it all the way through and erase whatever the other shape had stopped. That's what we did with the boxes too last time. This is going to be confusing. Again, I don't expect it to be perfect. Do not stress if it does not look perfect. This is just the first time we're doing it, okay? So I'm going to line it up with the vanishing point. I'm going to pivot it over so it hit this part of the O. Now the farthest part it will hit on the O on this side. Ooh, looks like I actually underestimated it that time. It's going to be all the way over here. I'm going to line it up with the vanishing point. Okay, you can see where this line goes all the way over. All right. I am going to go ahead and keep moving. The U is pretty easy because they're straight corners. All right. I'm going to line my vanishing point up with the corner of my U. I'm going to line my vanishing point up with the corner of my U. All the way down the line. Okay, so again, you want to make sure it's exactly connected to the vanishing point. Use a straight edge like a ruler or the edge of a notebook, something just to keep your line straight. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. I'm just doing the tops of the letters right now. I want to go back and show you something with the B for the bottom of the letter and the middle of the letter. But again, I take it, line it up with the vanishing point, keep it connected to the vanishing point. I'm swinging my straight edge out, my ruler out, and connecting to the farthest reaching part of the letter. Okay, my N, I'm going to line it up with the vanishing point, corner to corner, dot to dot. Okay. I am not going to be grading you on if this is perfect. I just want to see that you can connect these dots, that you're understanding the concept of connecting the dots, the corners, to the vanishing point. That is what I'm looking for. Okay, you can actually see I'm not being perfect. If I was being a little more careful, I would make sure everything actually met at that dot. So you want to try your best to do that. You're going to see there are lower corners down here too, so I'm going to connect those dots to my vanishing point. Okay, same thing over here. I'm going to connect my corner of my N back in space. This corner right here. Remember, if it runs into another letter, you just stop it when it runs into the other letter. Okay, same thing here. We actually don't know. Nope, you're not going to see that one because the R. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a quick tutorial about how to make really blocky letters, if those half curved, half block letters from the last one were a little too tricky, I'm going to show you just real quick how to do full-on block letters. So you want to keep everything in angles, right? So if I'm doing the letter B in block letters, it's going to look almost like an 8. Okay, O, it's going to be a rectangle. U, everything is straight up and down lines. This hopefully makes it a little bit easier. Okay. All right, now my next step would be to trace around these. All right, so again, we did the skeleton letters, so I'm going to go around like this. Go on the inside. Okay, keep going. Don't stress about this. If it's not turning out perfect, if it is looking real weird and it's not exactly perfect how you like it, that's fine. This is more about you guys just practicing connecting to the vanishing point, kind of taking it up a step from your first example. But basically the point of this is just to show me that you can connect to the vanishing point and create depth. So I'm going to just real quick erase those inside part of the letters. And you're now going to see block letters a little different than the block and bubble letters that I just had. But this is going to be a little easier for you to connect to the vanishing point because you only have corners. You don't have any curved lines to worry about. So if you want to do just totally, completely block letters like this, that's fine too. All right, so erase those out. This makes it a lot easier. I'm now going to connect to my vanishing point at all my corners. Even the inside of the letters, the bottom corners of the letters, that's fine. This makes it a little bit faster, a little bit easier for you to see. So you guys can decide which style letter you want to do. If you want to do the curved ones, you can. It will be a little trickier to do the 1-point perspective with that because, again, you are using rounded lines and then you have to find the farthest point out on the rounded line. So if you want to try that, you can, but I understand if you want to just keep it simple with block letters. And if you're up for a challenge, try a different font, try a different text. If you're one of my students who's like, I've done this 100 times, let me try it in a different way, that's fine. You know, I'm more looking for you guys to push yourselves and to enjoy this and have fun and learn something new. It's just about attempting the technique. It's not about actually getting a perfect picture. This doesn't have to be something that goes in the art show, all right? This is just something for you guys to try out a new technique. Okay, let's see. Let's get this done. Again, you always want to just make sure you're lining everything up with the vanishing point. That's the important part.